Camus Boats, from the mind of Earl Bentz. Excellence, tradition, and service, all part of the Camus advantage. On the water perfection. This is your next boat. Build your next boat at camusboats.com. I just got back from the WAN Bass U.S. Open out at Lake Mojave on the Nevada-Arizona border. I have fished this event many times as a boater, but this year I jumped in as a co-angler. As you may or may not know, WAN Bass out here in the West fishes a shared weight format where the pro and co each day take their boat's weight with them as they move on to the next couple of days. It's a pretty neat format, and it really encourages teamwork. So again, essentially each day both anglers work together as a team because they're going to benefit from each other's success. Why did I fish as a co this year after being a boater all my life? Several reasons. First of all, I wanted a chance to pre-fish with some of our Western Camus pros. I don't get to do this very often, and this was an opportunity for me to fish with a few of the guys out here that run Camus boats, and I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. I got to fish with Shane Edgar, who's out of the Phoenix area. We had a great day on the water, and it was the first time that I've fished out of a CX-20. I've been in the 21s. I have a 21 myself, but fishing out of that 20 was pretty interesting. It's an excellent boat, lots of room to fish, super smooth, even through the afternoon bumpy water that we have. It seems like the wind is going to blow on these desert lakes every day at some point, and the CX-20 ran through that chop pretty well, I got to say. I was impressed. The next day I got to fish with Rodney Reed. He's a pro out of Washington State. It was a little breezy that day with Rodney, and we ran a long way. We ran way up the river, about 15 miles below Hoover Dam. So if you know anything about Mojave, we launch at Catherine's, which is at the very southern end of the lake. Hoover Dam is at the very northernmost part of the lake. It's about 75 miles from Catherine's to Hoover Dam. And anyway, Rodney and I ran about 15 miles short of Hoover Dam, ran a long way, and it was breezy. And it was a good ride. It was a good ride. Rodney's boat is a CX-21, and the ride was smooth as butter. Even in the afternoon chop, I even dozed. In the rough water coming back, I was holding on, and I dozed while we were coming back through that big basin. Smooth running boat, super smooth running boat. I also fished co-angler because I want to see how guys are fishing tournaments these days. This modern era of tournament fishing. I'm an older guy, and I don't know. I think maybe tournament fishing has kind of passed me by a little bit, and I wanted to jump in and see how guys approach fishing these days. So that's why I didn't fish as a boater this year. As I mentioned, being an older guy, I come from a school that says the more cast you make, the better your chances of catching them. I mean, that's how we grew up. It's a school that a lot of older guys come from. The idea that you can make 1,000 casts in a day. So you're casting and casting and casting, trying to put your bait in productive places every cast. That's just the way we were raised. It's just the way I was raised. Now, I approached this tournament from the mindset that my boater would most likely be scoping. It's pretty well known that if you're going to win at Mojave, the U.S. Open at Mojave, it's going to be a scoping event. And so I approached the tournament knowing that my fishing was going to be, I was going to be dragged around a lot because scopers are going to search for fish, and when they find the fish, they're going to cast at the fish. So I wanted to approach the tournament from the idea that I knew I was going to be dragging something behind the boat because we would be moving until a fish was found. So I was looking for techniques that would complement what the angler in the front of the boat was doing. Since the boat was going to be moving around a lot, I knew I needed something that I could drag or something that I could do to take advantage of the boat's movement. So I set up a Carolina rig. I set up an underspin with a 3-inch Duckett subtle tail swim bait, a drop shot with the fuzzy dice, and a Ned rigged plastic crawdad. All of these baits I felt were baits I could fish behind a moving boat. For me, the drop shot didn't work very well because, first of all, when we did slow down and the guy in the front of the boat made a cast, if he didn't get bit within a couple of seconds, he was up and moving again. And so the drop shot dragging through the deep grass was not very effective for me. The Ned rig also, dragging that through deep grass, also wasn't very effective for me. But the Carolina rig and the underspin were both really effective complements. I caught fish on both, and I felt that I felt that they both really complemented what the pro was doing at the front of the boat. So I would say to people that are co-anglers, if you're in a situation where you're in a boat and someone's scoping, you think about a bait you can fish that will take advantage of the boat's movement, and don't feel bad because you don't have access to the forward-facing sonar. You actually have more water to fish if you're thinking in those terms. On day one, I drew out Kurt Dove. He's out of Texas. He's a longtime BASS Elite Series pro, many years in the business. He's fished the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit as well. And boy, on day one, the wind was just howling. And we jumped around the lower basin trying to target smallmouth on offshore structure. Again, Kurt was going for the win. I mean, nobody wants to fish for second place, so this is what we did. But the wind was just brutal. It was very hard to hold on any kind of position. And, we managed 3 little smallmouth for about 4.5 pounds. Now, I did catch about a 2-pounder on the underspin. We were moving as Kurt was looking for fish. And I noticed a big boulder. The water's very clear at Mojave. I noticed a big boulder, fired the underspin over there, started crawling it back, and stuck the fish. So that was my contribution to the first day. After that first day, I was in 135th place. I think there's 166 anglers in the tournament. And I would tell you that with the wind blowing the way it did, that first day was almost not fun. It was really, really tough. Day 2, as it turns out, was canceled. The wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour, which just shut us down. And so it was decided that the tournament would be, instead of a 3-day tournament, would only be a 2-day tournament. On the second last day of the event, I drew Evan Barnes. He's out of Arkansas. I know this name. Barnes is a former Major League Pro Circuit angler who's recently been fishing the BASS Opens. Barnes told me that we'd be chasing offshore fish and that he felt we could get a pretty good bag. So again, I kind of went into that day with the same mindset. I was going to fish baits that would complement what he was doing while he was looking for fish. Now, it's interesting. On that last day, what an extreme. We had no wind, glass on the water, and it just was such a contrast to the first day we fished. Now, I'll tell you that we caught 18.5 pounds that last day. 18.5 pounds. That is a mega sack at Lake Mojave. I mean, they come bigger, but not much. But when I tell you we caught 18.5 pounds, it was not an easy day. It was a seriously slow grinder of a day. Barnes caught our first fish about an hour after we got to our first spot. As I said, he was out there just looking for him. And finally, he caught our first keeper. It weighed a tick over 4 pounds. One of the right ones. But it took well past an hour to get that fish. And that's all we ended up getting on that first stop. We ran about 5 minutes to our next stop, and Barnes put the trolling motor down, and he was looking for fish. And while he was looking for fish, I had the underspin out there, and I stuck a 5.5 pound smallmouth on just slow rolling that 3-inch ducket subtle tail worm pinned to a 3/16 ounce Deeks Jigs underspin. It's the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught, and it won me $1,500 in the daily big fish money. It actually turned out to be the second biggest fish in the entire tournament. Pretty exciting. But again, that's all we got on that spot. So, we're now probably started fishing at about 7:15, and we got that second fish. Probably it was about 9:30, quarter to 10. So, we're now into the day about 3 hours, and fortunately, we have two keepers, and fortunately, they're two big fish. We ran across the lake to another spot, and again, fished it for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Barnes finally caught our third keeper, another good one, just under 4 pounds. So it's crazy. You think we have 3 fish now for almost 13 pounds, 3 fish for 13 pounds. But it's taken us about 5 hours to catch, and we're not catching lots of fish. We're just getting the right bites. I don't know what perfect bass fishing weather is. On day 1, we were cursing how much wind we had. And on day 2, we were begging for some breeze because it was so dead calm. And, you just figured it had to affect the fish. Having no wind, nothing to break up the surface. So, gosh, I guess bass anglers are just never satisfied. About 12:30, we returned to the spot where I caught my big smallmouth, and the wind was starting to blow. I caught a small non-keeper on the Carolina rig, just pulling it behind the boat. And then Barnes caught our fourth keeper, another smallmouth, this one just over 4 pounds. And at that point, we had about 17 pounds, right at that 17-pound mark. This was about 12:45 now in the afternoon. We returned to our first spot of the day. Barnes caught a 13-inch keeper to give us 18 pounds and to fill out our limit. It was weird to catch a keeper bass that was only 13 inches long. These, all these other fish we'd caught were so big. And here's our fifth keeper. It's just a 13-inch fish. About 2:30, the wind was really starting to blow, and I caught a 1.75 pound smallmouth on the underspin, just casting up behind the boat and just cranking it really slow, and that allowed us to call out that small 13-incher and brought us up to 18.5 pounds. 18.5 pounds, it's pretty epic, when you consider that we caught only 6 keepers on that day, when you consider that, we would go an hour and a half or so between fish, it's not what I picture an 18-pound limit to be. I picture an 18-pound limit to be, lots of fish catches, lots of culling, but it wasn't the case. We got 6 bites. We did not lose a fish all day. And it was pretty tough fishing, I got to say, pretty tough fishing. My day allowed me to move up to 63rd place. I know 63rd is down there, but when you're in 135th to begin, moving up to 63rd, not too shabby. But again, I was only about 3 pounds away from making a check in this event. If we could have had a limit on day 1, I think I probably would have cashed a check in this event. Couple more keepers, that's probably what we needed. Congratulations to Spencer Sheffield. He won the event on the pro side with a tick over 40 pounds. Spencer's also from Arkansas, good friend of Evan's, and has been coming to this event for the last 3 years. He's been very close every year, and it was good to see him get the W this time. Lessons learned. I got what I needed from this event. I got to witness how today's successful pros fish to win. Both partners had the same strategy, looking for big smallmouth in deeper offshore water. As I mentioned earlier, growing up in an era where the more cast you make, the better your chances of catching, this experience was a real eye-opener for me. Both of the boaters I fished with made very few casts. I would say that probably Kurt and Evan, I think they probably made fewer than 75 casts, maybe fewer than 50 casts each day. I clearly made more casts than they did. I probably made 5 to 10 times more casts than they did. It's a real testament to what forward-facing sonar allows you to do. These guys were not wasting their time making unproductive casts. They didn't catch a fish every cast, but every cast they made was to a fish. And I don't know, you weigh that against my spray and pray technique, making all those casts. It's just a real eye-opener for me, a real contrast to the way I had grown up fishing. And I think this, with the forward-facing sonar, I think it's a lot more efficient and, dare I say, a better way to fish. I can understand why Randy Blockett and others dislike forward-facing sonar. It contradicts the way we were brought up fishing. I know, because Randy and I are about the same age. I know how we grew up. Cover as much ground as possible, leave no stones unturned. Forward-facing sonar allows you to cast at the fish. And I don't know, I think that for me, I prefer forward-facing sonar. I really like that. My U.S. Open experience has proven to me what I think I suspected all along. When it comes to winning bass tournaments, the key is working smarter, not harder. Reason number 8 that your next boat should be a Caymas. Caymas Cash. Do you fish tournaments? Now you have up to 10,000 reasons to run a Caymas. Today, many boat brands offer contingency programs, but none of them deliver bigger payouts than Caymas Cash. With over 1,000 sanctioned events each season, you could win $10,000 for a win in a platinum event or $2,500 for being the highest finisher in a Caymas boat. There are silver and bronze events that will get you paid as well. Check out our Caymas Cash contingency program by going to CaymasBoats.com and find out why it pays to run a Caymas. I'm Keith Neiswanger. This is the Bass 2 Anglers podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to reach us, please send us a direct message on Instagram at Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Take care. Be safe. We'll talk to you next time.